Words of Sri Aurobindo from the book Letters on Yoga, Part 1, from the collective works of Sri Aurobindo, Volume 28, page 146, topic The Supermind or Supramental, subtopic Supermind and Overmind. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says Supermind is not merely a step higher than Overmind, it is beyond the line, that is, a different consciousness and power beyond the mental limit. It is hardly possible to say what the Supermind is in the language of mind, even spiritualized mind, for it is a different consciousness altogether and acts in a different way. Whatever may be said of it is likely to be not understood or misunderstood. It is only by growing into it that one can know what it is, and this also cannot be done until a long process by which mind heightening and illuminating becomes pure intuition, not the mixed thing that ordinarily goes by that name, and intuition widens and masses itself into overmind. After that, overmind can be lifted into and suffused with supermind till it undergoes a transformation. Sri Aurobindo says in the supermind all is self-known, self-luminously. There are no divisions, oppositions or separated aspects as in mind, whose principle is division of knowledge into parts and setting each part against another. Overmind approaches this at its top and is often mistaken for supermind, but it cannot reach it except by uplifting and transformation. Sri Aurobindo continues to say, by the supermind is meant the full truth consciousness of the divine nature, in which there can be no place for the principle of division and ignorance. It is always a full light and knowledge superior to all mental substance or mental movement. Between the supermind and the human mind are a number of ranges, planes, or layers of consciousness. One can regard it in various ways in which the element or substance of mind and consequently its movements also become more and more illumined and powerful and wide. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says the overmind is the highest of these ranges. It is full of lights and powers, but from the point of view of what is above it, it is the line of the soul's turning away from the complete indivisible knowledge and its descent towards the ignorance. For although it draws from the truth, it is here that begins the separation of aspects of the truth, the forces and their working out as if they were independent truths, and this is a process that ends as one descends to ordinary mind, life and matter in a complete division, fragmentation, separation from the indivisible truth above. There is no longer the essential, total, perfectly harmonizing and unifying knowledge, or rather knowledge forever harmonious, because forever one, which is the character of the supermind. In the supermind, mental divisions and oppositions cease. The problems created by a dividing and fragmenting mind disappear, and truth is seen as a luminous whole. In the overmind, there is not yet the actual fall into ignorance, but the first step is taken, which will make the fall inevitable. Sri Aurobindo continues to say, the supermind is the one truth, deploying and determining the manifestation of its powers. All these powers working as a multiple oneness in harmony without opposition or collision according to the one will inherent in all. The overmind takes these truths and powers and sets each working as a force in itself with its necessary consequences. They can be harmony in their action, but the overmind's harmonies are synthetic and partial rather than inherent, total and inevitable. As one descends from the highest overmind, separation, collision and conflict of forces increase, separability dominates, ignorance grows, existence becomes a clash of possibilities, a mixture of conflicting half truths, an unsolved and apparently unsolvable riddle and puzzle. Sri Aurobindo says the supermind is the truth consciousness. Below it, there intervenes the overmind, of which the principle is to receive the powers of the divine and try to work them out separately, each acting in its own right and working to realize a world of its own, or if it has to act with others, enforcing its own principle as much as possible. Souls descending into the overmind act in the same way. The principle of separated individuality is from here. At first, still aware of its divine origin, it becomes, as it descends, still more and more separated and oblivious of it, governed by the principle of division and ego. For mind is farther removed from the truth than overmind. Vital nature is engrossed in the realization of ignorant forces, while in matter the whole passes into what seems an original inconscience. It is the overmind Maya that governs this world, but in matter it has deepened into inconscience, out of which consciousness re-emerges and climbs again, bringing down into matter life and mind, and opening in mind to the higher reaches, which are still in some direct connection with the truth, intuition, overmind, supermind. Sri Aurobindo continues to say, at the time when these chapters, that is the last chapter of the synthesis of yoga, were written, the name overmind had not been found, so there is no mention of it. What is described in these chapters is the action of the supermind when it descends into the overmind plane and takes up the overmind working and transforms them. There is a footnote about the transformation. Sri Aurobindo says the highest supermind or the divine gnosis existent in itself is something that lies beyond still and quite above. Sri Aurobindo continues to say it was intended in later chapters to show how difficult even this was and how many levels there were between human mind and supermind, and how even supermind descending could get mixed with the lower action and turned into something that was less than the true truth. But these later chapters were not written. Sri Aurobindo says the distinction between the supermind and the overmind had not been made in the Arya, because at that time what I know called the overmind was supposed to be an inferior plane of the supermind, but that was because I was seeing them from the mind. The true defect of overmind, the limitation in it, which gave rise to a world of ignorance, is seen fully only when one looks at it from the physical consciousness, from the result, that is ignorance in matter, to the cause, overmind division of the truth. In its own plane, overmind seems to be only a divided, many-sided play of the truth, so can easily be taken by the mind as a supramental province. Mind also, when flooded by the overmind light, feels itself living in a surprising revelation of divine truth. The difficulty comes when we deal with the vital and still more with the physical. Then it becomes imperative to face the difficulty and to make a sharp distinction between the overmind and supermind, for it then becomes evident that the overmind power, in spite of its lights and splendors, is not sufficient to overcome the ignorance, because it is itself under the law of division, out of which came the ignorance. One has to pass beyond and supramentalize overmind, so that mind and all the rest may undergo the final change. These are the words of our Lord Sri Aurobindo.
Om Namo Shritana